Hello, YouTube. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Feel free to drop a like and tell us in the comments what you've thought about this last week's episode. Take some guesses into what we're going to talk about as well. I'm kind of curious. Let's play an experiment. Let's have an experiment going on. Just put down in the comments what you think we're going to talk about the most in today's episode. Okay.
Yeah.
And welcome to the Capcast. I'm Nywall.
And I am Tunnel Snake's Fool.
Yeah. And today on the Capcast, we will be trying something new. Yeah, we kind of talked it out. Guys, listen, you're gonna be the test subjects on this. That means you get to respond to us. Tell us what you think. Make sure, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, whatever way you need to get a hold of us to tell us what you think about what we're doing today. Do it.
Please.
Yes.
You read it.
Because today we will be trying out not one segment, not two segments, but three whole segments. Yes.
Yes.
Introducing the news spill, the game spill, and then our typical review and recap of the show, which is going to be The Last of Us episode. What episode are we on?
7. I'm
Golly.
excited.
Yeah, so
3 more episodes left.
Golly, I know.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're doing this is to start making room for other things because, Last of Us, 3 episodes. We got to start talking about something else, right?
Yep.
And the Fallout show's not here. And what, do you want us to go back to an older show? Who knows? If you want us to go back to an older show, you know how to reach us.
Exactly.
Twitter, Instagram, exactly. All that stuff that I just said. So do it. Please. Yes. Jinx. We're begging you. Oh my God. Anyway. So, shall we kick off our first segment?
Yeah.
This just in, we have a Fallout news update.
So there was some big Fallout news leaks this week. I covered it on my YouTube as well, but we got some really interesting pictures out of the Fallout TV show. For the people listening in, I will post them on our Instagram and our Twitter. We got a picture of inside the vault. So we've had a few pictures like that before. In the pictures, one of the characters we've seen in Vault 33, we've seen him in that vault suit.
Yeah.
And next to him is an NCR flag inside of the vault.
The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
And honestly, where I went was Bethesda's doing something with original Fallout lore.
Ooh. That is
touched that. So
that's a pretty scary ground for Bethesda. And I can understand why. Because you got the diehards.
Yeah.
And no one is more vocal than the diehards.
And I think it's really cool because it not only does it say that, oh my God, how the hell did the NCR get in the vault? What was that like? What was the politics of that like? But now we kind of know where Vault 33 and assuming Vault 32 is relatively close to 33. Those are the 2 vaults we know of in the show. We now know relatively where they are geographically. The closest vault, Vault 34, they tend to group together, right? They're not always sequential, but tend to group together. 34 is Nellis Air Force Base.
Yeah.
In Fallout New Vegas. The boomers.
So, because I even think about Vault 111 and Vault 101,
Right.
which, Boston and DC?
Yeah, they're both on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, not super close, but, still, they're both in the triple digits, and they're not that far apart, in my mind. For California, that's not that far apart. Maybe for East Coast people, that's a lot further apart. We drive that all the time. But yeah, I'm so excited about it. Some are saying that the look of the NCR flag does change through the Fallout series. And this flag has one of those, like, the bigger star, it looks like, on it. And that's New Vegas as well. But grain of salt, they're kind of just going off, I think, the most recent game.
Which honestly, I think going off of their, I would argue New Vegas is their most beloved game.
Mhm.
Which, hey, shout out Obsidian, good job.
Right?
You sealed your legacy with Bethesda forever because of it. Now with Fallout New Vegas being so beloved, I think a good way, and what you've even kind of theorized that this is very much going to be almost like a spaghetti western kind of a
Right.
show.
And I was like, duh, when I saw that, because I had been like, okay, we had seen some NCR headquarters stuff, but it's the project name, the working title is Hundo, or Hondo, I don't know how to pronounce it. That's a western, a spaghetti western. It was there all along.
Which I mean, I think you could play into that very, very well. And there's not a lot of westerns being done these days.
True.
Especially now that Westworld has been axed, and it's not like Westworld was very which Westworld stopped being about the West after season 2 for the most part, you know? So I think
I liked the Shogun era of that. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
That was so pretty cool. Gangster. That was pretty gangster.
The cover of Cream they did, Casual is Everything Around Me, it was so good. They did a cover of it in the Shogun. It was so cool. I loved it.
What you know about the Wu-Tang Clan? What?
You know, I'm a big enjoyer. But sorry, that was such an aside. But
that's dope, actually. Okay, continue.
I have that song like on my Spotify. The like cut, well, obviously the original and the cover that they did for Westworld, so good. I didn't even think of the fact that they were doing Westworld. Same showrunners that did Westworld are now doing this, and I was like, how much crossover between Fallout and Westworld is there going to be? It just feels like it's never ending.
Well, if you cut one head off, another one comes up. There has to be, and I think it's a good area to be in, a Western, a post-apocalyptic Western could be really, really fun. And I hope I can see someone just write. Do you think this would be too much if they had a Giddy Up Buttercup or a Buckle Up Bronco? We'll say for the adults. Buckle Up Bronco.
I honestly, well, there's also been leaked images of them on a vertibird, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the vertibird, and I cover all this on my YouTube page. Low key shout out to myself, but
shout out.
You did it last week. I'm doing it this week. So in the backdrop of it is brown desert and the iconic kind of like dark brown mountain range, which looks like the Mojave. And I was like, are we gonna get a Western, but instead of horses, they're on vertibirds, stuff like that?
That would be pretty cool.
I mean, probably just one, but still.
I would love to see, like, you know, even like some of the tribes, like the Great Khans, and
we know fiends are going to be in it from IMDb. So,
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of that is lining up to be a New Vegas show.
Todd said, "I'm not going to cover an existing game." And I was talking about this with, like, I think with TK's on Twitter. He was like, yeah, but Todd's lied about stuff before. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, does Todd even consider New Vegas like a game to him? Like, it's kind of a spin-off game. So,
you know, I think my boy's gonna have to bite the bullet and realize that the son that he neglected the most is the most successful son.
Yeah.
Time for that crow to come home and roost, my boy. That's all I gotta say. Because god dang, seriously. I
just hope they don't give us a canon ending, because there was no canon ending.
I know that's what I was going to say. I was like, what if this is the thing that answers what happened?
I want that.
That would be crazy.
You decide. Like,
you know what I would like to see. I would like to see how the Brotherhood of Steel got snuffed out of Helios 1. I would like to see that. I would like to see the of all that.
My thought is it's going to be in between the events of Fallout 2 and the events of New Vegas. That's where I think it's going to live in that suite, which is a good span of time.
Yeah, and I think that could line up perfectly. I think because like
And pre-war. I still think we're getting some pre-war sequences, as we've discussed in the past. So the other leak too, I will mention, they did have a couple of pictures inside the vault, and then they also had a picture of like COVID testing for the show purposes. I don't think COVID's not going to be in the show, guys. Don't worry. And then a close-up of the Pip-Boy. I hope it's not going to be in the show. A close-up of the Pip-Boy, which is, in my mind, the Pip-Boy 3000 Mark IV. And if you aren't an absolute nerd like me, that's Fallout 4's Pip-Boy. But it's silver. It's like a different paint job. So we'll see if it's just the Pip-Boy for that one vault, or if, honestly, I low-key think they took casting of the Spirit Halloween one and remade it. Because it's a good, I have it right over here. It's a good Pip-Boy.
Yeah. Shoot, I have mine too. Hey, you know what? I think we're ready to, cosplay for the red carpet event. Amazon / Bethesda
/ Kilter Films, all of them.
All of them. We will show up. We will be your vault people.
Yeah, we'll be your hype crew, honestly.
Man, gotta be a good show. Better be a good show. Listen, you burn us, you're not gonna like what we do to you. Anyway.
Oh, you look like De Niro doing that.
I know. You're not gonna like it. You understand?
You did this last week when I was talking about I'm doing, for people listening in, I'm doing the Italian, I call them the Italian pasta fingers. I don't know. I do this. You could clock it in episodes. I do this without realizing. It is a real mannerism.
Primo Italiana.
But yeah, I think that's it for my Fallout news segment. I'm pretty excited. Like I said, we're getting these leaks have been flowing since they stopped filming a couple weeks ago. And I think that's because they're like, The Last of Us is doing well. Let's generate some hype. I'm going to have to bleep that.
Or don't. We're bad. We're rebellious. We're here. And we're here to stay. Drugs, guns, and cuts.
Okay, that's all I got. I'm excited. I think
we're going to do news every time it pops up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. When I get news, I will cover it instantly on my YouTube, and then we'll cover it here as well, because to get both of our takes, I think, is really fun.
Yeah.
But we got another segment coming tonight.
And now, an important game review from Reginald Baxter V.
Yes.
Need bubbles coming out of that thing.
Yes, it is I, Reginald Baxter V. And I've come to talk to you today about a wonderful game.
I should have done a voice for my segment.
That I also hate. Would you like to know what it is?
Yeah, tell us, Reginald.
It is called Wild Hearts. This toxic, abusive ex of Monster Hunter. Yes. You see... You see, I bought this game for, dare I say, $80.
Inflation.
No. You see, Reginald only does the primest of the prime, and I desire to play the game exactly 10 hours earlier than everyone else to separate myself from the normies.
Reginald might be in the Illuminati.
I suggest you shut your mouth before you disappear. I have ways. No, you see, the thing I enjoyed about this game, and still enjoying. Now, guys, please understand that Reginald is a tired man, and he hasn't got the time to spend to grind this toxic freaking game all day. But the part that I enjoy is if Fortnite met Monster Hunter, and you go, Fortnite, you build things to fight other people. In this game, you build things to fight the monsters, and that's the thing that makes it different.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it because so much of you having a successful hunt requires you to learn combos with your build. Combos. Box, spring, boxing spring. You get a hammer. You create a bigger hammer, and it hits the thing. And it's not an actual weapon. It's not as engaging. You have to be smart. And I'm not smart. I This is why I prefer Monster Hunter. Because you see, I could sit there with a hammer and bring it down over and over again, and the monster will eventually die. In Wild Hearts, the monster can land a 20-hit combo on you while you're sitting there trying to gargle your life heal potion. And you can't run while you're drinking. No. You will have to sit there and watch your character get throttled like a child who walked into the front of a train. It's been disastrous. And
oh
yet,
my god.
And yet for some reason, I keep going back to this godforsaken game.
A little masochism happening with this one.
I have a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome for this bad boy.
Oh, you've formed a bond with it. Trauma bonded.
Not that.
Uh-oh.
You see, I have an issue with losing. I have a problem with it, you see. Have you ever played Monster Hunter?
I have not.
Well, that would explain a couple of things about you. Now, I do not hold that against you, my beloved Nikki. But I would encourage you to try it. What would you like Reginald to send you a copy? Do you play it on the Switch? You play the Nintendo?
Yeah, I have the Switch. I got all the consoles.
I will send you a copy of it.
Okay.
Monster Hunter Rise, it's a magnificent game.
But not this game you don't like.
No. But I keep playing it.
Why?
And sunk cost fallacy. Period. Because not only did I buy it once, I bought it twice for a friend. Because I said we'll play it together.
Are you playing it together? Is at least that happening?
Yes. We do play it. But boy, it's hard to watch yourself lose and not drag someone down with you and make them feel bad for it.
So Reginald doesn't like it because of the combos. It's like
it's brutally unfair.
I suck at combos in attack combos and those kind of games.
And that's the thing. It's not even that big of a deal on your end. The monsters. So you have invincibility frames whenever it comes to rolling, and it's certain things for yourself. Those things are so minuscule. It is as if Dark Souls slept with Monster Hunter, and this is what came out. And for some reason, they're like, let's also add some boxes. These are the same people who made Dynasty Warriors, by the way. I didn't know that. Fun fact. But yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. And
begrudgingly.
As of right now, which Reginald has, I've fought in the, what is it called? God dang. Oh, it's a firebird. It's a big bird. It's attacking your village. Spoiler alert, it attacks the village. It's not that far in the game. Relax. Trust me, you'll get beat so much you won't make it to this point anyway. But if you do, I applaud you. Anyway, I got to give this bad boy a rating, don't I?
Yes, please. I need to hear Reginald's.
As it stands, Reginald may or may not come back to update further on this game at some point down the road. But as I stand, I give this game a goddamn 8 out of 10. Because as abusive and as much as I hate this game, I cannot get enough of it.
That's interesting.
I desire to learn. I desire to learn and to conquer, and it fuels me.
Right.
You see, Reginald comes from a very, very dangerous household lifestyle. That whenever you lose, you got picked on for it and teased, and they called you a little loser boy. And then you would come back bigger and better. Mm-hmm. And then you would find the person who called you a little loser boy, and you would put them in a chokehold until they fell asleep. And then you say, who's the loser boy now? And that's what you get to do in this game. So if you enjoy retaliation and pettiness, this is the game for you.
Wow, that is a controversial positive review of this game, Reginald.
Yes.
I'm honestly confused at the high rating it got.
You should have seen me with Elden Ring. Now that was a turbulent experience in my life, but boy, was that a flawless 10 out of 10.
This kind of attitude about a game makes me think a lot of playing a coin-operated game as a kid, where those games are pretty hard. You would sink $10 more into it, and you just keep coming back for that punishment. Couldn't get past whatever level. That's what this makes me think of.
House of the Dead.
Again, sunk cost fallacy.
Did you ever House of the Dead? You ever play that? You never played House of the Dead?
No.
We need to find you an arcade. Jesus.
I played the racing game, cruising through whatever. I think it was California, actually.
Yeah. I know exactly that one.
That one was so fun. You could hit NPCs in that game that were 2D and they'd fall over. And then I played that. Oh God, it's like a top-down military flying plane game. I don't like F-22. I want to say it's called.
Not even familiar. See,
1945. I think there's another one like that. Those were my arcade games, and then Galaga. So good.
See, while you're over there playing the simulators, I'm over there with not Monster Hunter, my God, with House of the Dead. And what you would do, you'd aim a fake toy gun at the screen. You sat there, and a guy would say, "Shoot off the screen to reload," and you would do that. So me and my homeboy Christopher, would sit there like this, and we'd make machine guns. We'd shoot off the screen to reload. That's the key, kids. If you ever find yourself in an arcade, play House of the Dead. Remember what old Reginald told you.
Thank you, Reginald. I appreciate your rant this episode.
Yes.
I hope we hear from Reginald again.
Would you like a Reginald wisdom before I go?
Yeah, please. Let us have it.
If you don't buy something, how do you know if you didn't like it? Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Reginald. Thank you.
Yes.
Reginald's going back home now. All right. So are you?
Reginald's gone.
Bye, Reggie. That made me think of Reggie Watts.
Let's pop the top.
Yeah. Right. So, The Last of Us.
What was this episode? What was the name?
Okay. No, I Googled it after the fact because they changed last week's episode. So last week's episode in Hulu and in HBO was episode 6. They've had months to figure this out, okay? They're still not changing the names. Now it says Kin for episode 6. Why they couldn't have done that before it aired, I have no idea. Now episode 7 says episode 7. I Googled it. Left Behind is the real name. Fix your naming stuff, HBO. Fix it before it airs.
Left Behind? Oh, wait. I think that was the name of the DLC, actually.
So that makes
verbatim.
sense.
I think that's exactly what it was.
We're calling it the DLC episode because
the DLC.
That's what it is.
Yep. We didn't have to pay extra for it. Good news.
Mm-hmm.
It's
on PlayStation Plus too.
That's true. So how did this episode start out? Where were we at? Let's see. Joel.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Joel's on the ground. First we see this trek of blood through the snow.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Oh, you didn't notice that? Yeah. You could see how Ellie dragged Joel with the horse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think at least in the game, it's kind of shown that Joel's on a car door,
right,
and, tied to the horse, and then Ellie gets them out of there and then parks it up in the garage.
That house was gross.
It's almost like no one's lived there 20 years.
And it caught on fire at some point or something. I don't know. I was like, dang, that's pretty bad, but you never know.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty, though.
He's on a little sad mattress on the ground, little sad twin. That looks like a mattress we would have thrown into the trunk of our truck to go to the drive-in, our local drive-in theater. Small town energy. Where me and my 3 siblings would be under a blanket so we could all sneak in, which that poor business is not doing so well. Don't sneak into the drive-in, just pay.
Hey, golly.
If you're not paying for your 4 kids, come on. I'm talking to my parents retrospectively now.
That's all right. Listen, different time. It was a different time.
But that's the mattress he was on. And he tells her to leave and to go north. She's trying to tend to his wounds, pushes her away. And
get out of here. Leave me.
yeah, and she goes to leave supposedly. And then we jump into
Which, come on, we know Ellie. She
yeah,
wasn't even thinking about leaving.
no,
She didn't even think about it.
right. And we jump into the DLC right in on a cassette Walkman. And I was like, isn't cassette a little dated for 03? Am I wrong in saying that?
Honestly, no. I would say for the year of 2003, it was either CD player, which is still huge.
I had a CD Walkman at that time.
I actually had a regular Walkman. I remember
cassette
that.
Walkman.
Cassette Walkman, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the time. I do remember that. I want to say, and I would almost argue that keeping a cassette Walkman intact is easier.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, than keeping a CD.
The laser, the tapes themselves, like now they're saying you got to back up all your DVDs and Blu-rays because if you have a DVD from 2003 or whatever, they started around that time, they're not probably going to work so well at this point, like they're going to lose it. Well, now, if you buy a Blu-ray, they give you that little code, which makes the Blu-ray pointless unless you have no internet at that point in time or whatever. So, but yeah, it was cool to see the Walkman. I was like, oh man, I didn't have a cassette Walkman. I had a CD Walkman, which couldn't run with that one. It would skip for all you youngins out there. If you were running with your CD Walkman, it'd be like, nah, nah, nah,
Yeah. This is crazy. I was using a CD Walkman in high school when there were MP3 players.
Yeah.
There were. I was still doing it. I don't know why.
I still use these headphones. So the wraparounds are that era. They're more comfortable for me. But so, and I also noticed, I wrote this down too. She had a VHS tapes in her room as well. So I was like, oh, we're doubling the tape throwback here in this episode.
It was the whole thing. What we have this, Bethany girl comes up, runs up, takes the headset off. Where's your friend, stupid? Gonna fight me? She was just being a prick. Just being a prick to be a prick. And
they all had braces. How are they getting braces at Fedra school?
I feel like Fedra has access to a lot of stuff.
To orthodontics?
Honestly,
bizarre.
These are apparently the same people who were the only people that had access to cancer medication.
True.
So
who's in post-apocalypse? My teeth aren't straight. Let's fix it. I don't know. I think they tried to cover up the fact that girl had braces, but I was like, I had braces growing up. I was like, you have braces. I could see them. I don't know. Maybe
give them the benefit of the doubt. This was her first acting credit. You're being rude.
No.
Rude.
You don't get braces and get away with it. I'm telling you.
Jeez.
Hey, I had
so
braces,
they get into a fight. And then cut to Captain Kwong just sitting there. And he's talking to her saying, dude, I put you in the hole for this kind of behavior. And she's like, do it again. Fine, whatever. He's like, the hole doesn't work. So I'm just going to talk to you. Think, man, think. You're a smart kid. And now this is where I was like, so, you know me. I'm not saying I would side with Fedra, but this is definitely a human element to Fedra. Do I genuinely believe that Captain Kwong thinks that they are the thing keeping it together? 100%.
Yeah.
And, this does make me think of the Brotherhood of Steel. Very, very much. They definitely have the means to bring a society whole. It's there.
Right.
The way they're doing it is not the way to go about doing it.
Right. And I think, it all kind of pulls into that same idea that's in so much media. It's just like, if you have power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right. We see that in every media we consume pretty much, and we see it in reality, so, and you could have the best intentions and just be corrupted by it. So
There was a lot of talking points there that I did like, because the Fireflies are not wholly good.
no,
And as same thing with Fedra. No one is wholly good. There
right.
is a
Nuance.
a means to an end for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I really did like that kind of like aspect of it, and like flipping both coins on it, because I think even in the game they kind of show that the Fireflies are pretty bad too.
Right.
Like, so it's like, it's one of those things I'm glad they did kind of shine a light on, because in the show we're not getting a lot of Firefly lore.
Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, I think we did get a good dose of it today, which was interesting. Albeit, just from one person.
Mhm.
But it was cool, and what he was saying really convinced Ellie, to the point where she's kind of hinting at it throughout the rest of the episode.
Like, she could be a leader.
Yeah, and she could
Yeah.
see herself doing that, and
Mhm.
she's like, what the hell other option really do you have? Do you either go into a crazy ass conflict and who knows how long you live then, or this system that's in place, you play into it,
Yeah.
kind of mind your business and keep your head down? And especially if they're offering a leadership position as opposed to the sewage position we hear later on in the rest of the episode. So
This is
I
kind of like one
understand
of
her
those
mindset.
it's a guaranteed security kind of thing.
Right.
You would actually be something. You wouldn't have to be
Right.
a bootlicker, essentially. It's one of those
Yeah.
things. But yeah,
or take orders from the girl who punched you in the face, right? Like, that was his alternative, so
for real.
of course.
Yeah, he kind of he's just like, nope, that's it. That's all I want to say. You're gonna do what you're gonna do, but please think about what I said. I got good vibes from Captain Kwong. I think he's done some messed up things, but I think
he had a
his
picture of
heart's
his
in
kids,
the right
it seems
place,
like,
very much.
Yeah. I think that kind of trying to show, like, he's doing this to protect his family, probably, right? Like, what are the drivers for most people? Whereas, and they discussed it a little bit in the after episode, Ellie has had no one. Her mom, in the lore of the game, as I understand it, passed away after giving birth. And there's theories that she was infected right as going into labor, and that's why Ellie might be immune. I just saw a YouTube video on that the other day.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I understand. I mean, like, honestly, in the show thus far, we haven't seen a whole lot of why Fedra is bad necessarily.
Yeah. Which, I mean, no one likes a militarized state, period.
Yeah, but they have martial law, as I understand it, right? Like, that's how Fedra was put in place.
Yeah, they got the whole curfew system. Yeah. Guns only, but if you have a gun, you shouldn't be. Only Fedra can. That kind of thing.
Interesting. Yeah, so then we cut to Ellie's room. Very, very cute. Kind of, I liked that they allowed him to decorate. Mortal Kombat poster.
I saw the Aha best of Aha tape, and I said, "Take on Me" is going to play in this episode at some point.
I know. Well, those writers are from the 80s. I knew it was going to happen.
Called that.
You really did.
Listen, Take on Me. Okay. Top 3 80 songs ever. Take on Me. We're saying mainstream here. I'm not gonna sit here and Metallica, Master of Puppets. No. Take on Me.
Pop. You're saying pop.
I Come from a Land Down Under. Period.
Yeah.
Material Girl.
I mean, I don't disagree. I just am not a huge pop fan in the 80s. So we've talked about this. Don't get mad at me again. I like Take on Me. It's fine. I literally started laughing when it started playing.
I will say Aha has a couple decent rock songs. They are a rock band.
Okay. But rock bands can make pop music, Rolling Stones, all that, whatever.
I'm gonna put you on, don't worry. All right, continue.
Okay. So we see her room, we see the joke, the pun book, which was really cute, little detail. She has the Mortal Kombat poster. I believe that's a change from the game as well. Obviously that, it's probably easier for them to get the rights to that. Yeah, and she has a couple of cassettes, all that. She's lights out, they're banging, telling her to turn off the lights, and she is startled awake by, who is it? The person whose empty bed we just saw. Her old roommate
and best friend.
BFF.
Yeah. Riley. She almost gets shanked. Ellie is about that life, Doc. She was quick to act. Did you see how quick that knife came out?
Yeah. She ready. Knife should have came out quicker, a little bit later in the episode, but there's no changing it now. Just saying. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
So she's pissed, but Riley has a little date planned, a little fun date planned with her.
Well, it's not a date. It's not a date at that moment. It's not a date. It's a friendship adventure.
Riley
it's the best night of your life. The best night of her life. Definitely not going to regret those words.
No, not at all.
And hey, yeah, no. Well, Riley, this is where we find out Riley burned off. She wasn't dead. She didn't die. She joined up with the Fireflies. Ellie's like, oh, so we're terrorists now. Okay, cool. I'm so glad you're a terrorist. Thanks. Mm-hmm. You didn't think you needed to talk to me about this at all? Your best friend.
And
understandably upset, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. Especially now, she has a little bit different perspective going into this with her. So after the meeting she just had, so Riley convinces her to go, and it's so funny too because she's like, turn around so I can change, which I was like, oh my god, I hated changing in like locker rooms and stuff like that. Now as an adult, I've done so much theater. I have changed in front of so many people at this point, women, men, whatever, so. But as a kid, I was very uncomfortable with it. So I was like, relate, especially if you liked the person you were changing in front of.
Oh, being in football, I hated that.
Yeah.
They expected you to take a shower. I said, I'm not taking a shower. You have to. I told, nah, coach. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to.
Forcing teens to change in front of other teens is traumatic. Forcing them to get naked and take a shower. Why?
Yeah, that's how it was rolled. And then coach was like, okay, whatever. If you're not gonna take a shower, you're just gonna stink. Whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, take a shower at home. Okay. Yeah, so I related to that a little. I really like, and they're doing it throughout the series, and we've discussed it, but I love how they're throwing in these layers of like what being a kid is like. It's not just an apocalypse show, obviously, but they are throwing in these like little layers of being a teen girl, being whatever, like all these things. So it was nice to see,
Yeah. This reminded me, since it is very much like being a kid, it reminded me of sneaking out of the house at night. Did you sneak out of the house at night?
And mom watches. Yeah,
I'm not trying to get you to snitch on yourself, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I did sneak out as a kid. I think kids these days are very unfortunate that everybody has a Ring doorbell camera and Nest cameras and all those branded cameras, because I don't know how they do it now.
I had a crush on this girl, and I would sneak out of my house. I would take my mom's car, and I would go pick this girl up, and I would sneak her out of her window.
Right. Because it was always out of a window too.
Me and her were not allowed to be a thing. As you can see, I am of a complexion, and she is from a complexion. And her grandparents said that is a no-no kind of thing. But she was like, I can't allow that. I like you, and you like me. Let us sneak out together. And sure enough, we did.
Star-crossed lovers.
Yeah, we had no business hanging out. And this is also at the time, I was such a nervous teenager. I was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna cruise around, and that's all we ever did, cruise around. And it is like some of the most memorable stuff ever. It was like I've never had to sneak anyone out of a window before.
Or not? What are they on, like the 3rd or 4th floor, and they sneak out the fire escape? Yeah. So
valid point. I even considered that. God damn.
Yeah, I liked the best night of their lives. They they sneak out. They go on the Fedra's stupid, whatever.
Fedra's stupid. Fireflies are stupid.
My husband the whole time was like, this dialogue is really weird. I was like, they're kids. I think really what made the dialogue sound weird to him throughout the episode, Riley is kind of like a little holier than thou about her new position in the Fireflies.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, she obviously is a couple of years older than Ellie, who's I think 14. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So
he's about to turn 17. So
yeah. Which, you know what that made me think of? It makes me think of those ROTC kids.
Yeah.
Back in high school. Mm-hmm. Like this when you talk to me. No, I'm good.
They have ROTC in college too, and they get more intense in
Listen,
college.
Hey, anyone who was ever in ROTC, awesome. I'm glad for you. You knew darn well that you had something going on. You were a little too good for everyone else just because you did that. You were giving off my dad works at Nintendo vibes.
What they were really doing was getting up at 5 to run a mile, you know,
which is real.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, listen, I'm glad you're passionate about it. Absolutely. Don't treat me like I'm dog crap just because I might work at Burger King instead of being in the military. Okay. Listen, that's my first job. I'm okay with that. Leave me alone.
I was a grocery store bagger.
Bet you were good at it too.
I was good at it. Even though there were a lot of Karens at that grocery store. Someone threw a box of Triscuits right at my face one time because I didn't get the right flavor for them. But you should have picked out the right flavor yourself, lady.
That's not my job. Yeah. Well, Ellie says that she gave Bethany 15 stitches.
Dang, in the face.
You want to talk about a one-sided fight? My God.
She got like one black eye, and then Bethany, 15 stitches is a lot of stitches. That's a lot.
I can't assume it was a face thing, but it had to have, right?
Yeah, it had to have been.
Is Ellie one of those people who just attacks wildly, or does she attack the face?
Did she slice her?
No, she keeps that thing on her. She keeps
not even hiding it. Yeah, so they're hopping. They climb out. They climb into these buildings are falling apart in this universe. They find a dead guy and they go so close to his face. I was waiting for that. You know what I mean?
laughed so hard when the dead guy was revealed. I was like, ha ha. I was like, this is such a weird thing to walk upon. Ellie is obsessed with
fresh dead too. So
yeah, Ellie is obsessed with death, dude. She is. She is morbidly obsessed, and I just think that's something that's constantly been hinted at this entire show, is that she has an
fascination with death,
fascination with it, and inflicting the death. So I think
I am fascinated. I will say I am, as a person, fascinated with death. Like I've watched those time lapses of human decomp. Fascinating. Like from a scientist perspective, I think it's interesting.
Science.
Yeah, but have you ever heard of the body farms where they just like leave bodies to rot?
No.
To test the soil, to allow people to train for forensic stuff, things like that. Like that stuff is so, and they have them in Texas. Just saying.
You know the time lapse I watch? I like to watch whenever the camera whenever the camera is at a little angle and it's really high up and it makes everyone look tiny and small.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And then they move around. I like those ones. No one's dying in those ones. I don't.
Well, they're already dead. So they're just decomposing. Maybe I have a little bit of that Ellie personality, but
I'll keep you with me if that's the case, especially in the apocalypse.
So they find a bottle of whiskey on the dead. I was like, we don't know what's going on with the dead. I thought it was open, but after looking at it again, I think it did have a cork in it. But I thought it was just sitting open next to the corpse. I was like, gross.
I was certain it was piss, but
they drank it like they would either, I guess. And then the dead guy just collapses. The whole building collapses, and he
floor
falls
just
through,
under him,
which was interesting. And they take that whiskey and they go to the roof, and then they take a good few swigs of that whiskey.
Getting turned up.
And then after drinking the whiskey, they say, let's hop roof to roof like we're playing Assassin's Creed. The order of operations here.
That game didn't come out yet. That game didn't
I'm
come
sorry.
out yet.
I don't know. There's
Like Prince of Persia.
the Aladdin game. There's a lot of roof hopping on that Sega Genesis
Yes.
game. Yeah, and why did they drank and then did that? Smart order. Me, nearly 30, I would have, the tip of my foot would have caught the edge and I would be dead.
They're kids, okay?
No.
They're kids. They don't think. It's okay.
The frontal lobe, all that. Yeah. And
They're making their way downtown, heading fast.
walking fast and they're homebound.
Yeah.
They see the mall.
Yeah.
And
They see them all because what? Like they just Fedra expanded because more people means more apartments, and they're slowly like trying to reclaim some of the city.
right.
And this one mall that looks like freaking barricaded off, can't see anything in it. That's their destination.
Right.
Ellie's like, dude, you're crazy. She's like, no, I'm not.
Full of
Come on.
infected, supposedly.
Fool. And
Why risk it? But okay.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything yet.
Okay. No, I know what you're talking about. But they go in, they climb in through a hole in the ceiling. Pretty gross. I don't know how long this mall has been cordoned off because of the infected inside. And I'm assuming the logic is that Fedra figured out, oh, a lot of them lived their lifespan and are dead now or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get in. She goes, go outside, walk around the corner. Ellie does this and gets the reveal of all the lights turning on. Such a cool scene. Really pretty.
All of the lights.
Super Bowl energy. But yeah, so I thought that was so cool, but I was like, so stupid. Don't do it. But show's got a show, so
Kids got a party. All right? Kids in America. And yeah, Take On Me plays. Called it. Awesome. That's exactly what my note says. Called it. Take On Me.
Yeah. And they're walking. Her mind is blown by the escalator. You grew up in a small town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did your town have an escalator?
No.
We had one escalator in my town in Barnes and Noble, and it wasn't a two-way escalator. It just went up. You'd have to walk your ass back downstairs.
That's funny. Yeah. Because I was like, at least now in the town that I live in now, there is an escalator, and that is in Barnes and Noble.
Is it the only one? Is the same situation? That's so weird. With
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble and escalators.
Except the escalator, we have one that goes up and the other one that goes down, and there's an elevator in there.
I think there is an elevator in ours too, but I just loved that because I remember being a kid and getting excited. We didn't have any malls growing up, anywhere near me, like 40 miles away. And I probably would have had that reaction to an escalator. It would have been exciting.
So no, I'm going up, but I'm going nowhere.
Exactly. And they do a little walk through the mall, and they go in front of Victoria's Secret. And Riley kind of I think hurts Ellie's feelings a little bit here. Did you notice that?
With
she was like, I could not picture you in that. And Ellie, and Ellie kind of does a fixes her hair.
See, yeah, that is funny. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention right, but I thought she was like, oh, I could see you in that. Mm-hmm. I thought that's what she said. Probably just wasn't paying attention.
She was saying, I'm trying to picture you in it.
Oh yeah,
but I can't. Yeah. It was kind of the energy, and I think it did hurt Ellie's feelings just a little bit. You know what I mean?
She was like, let me make myself pretty.
Yeah. They go to the carousel, and they turn it on, and my husband was like, "Why is the carousel playing The Cure?" Which
is that what that was?
Yeah.
I thought that's what that was. I was like, why is that song so familiar?
It's like, what? He was like, what carousel plays The Cure? And I thought that was so, they're just kind of sticking with that era, so I thought that was
Ah,
cute. Cute little
yeah, that
escalator.
was a cute little moment for sure. I did like that.
Um, to the I mean, like this episode's very like kind of linear. You know what I mean? So it's like this to that to that to that, which is fine. It's great.
Yeah,
Um,
they got the story to tell.
yeah, and then they go to the photo
I
booth.
I had actually wrote
No, go ahead,
carousel.
please.
I said the carousels remind me of Silent Hill.
Really?
Yeah, it made me think of Silent Hill 3. You have to fight an evil version of the main character that you're playing as on
Mm-hmm.
the carousel.
Ooh. They made me think of Euphoria, and I was like, that's a very different energy. I know you don't watch that
You
show,
and
but
Euphoria. I'm gonna sit down and watch it. That way I
okay.
can get every reference
To
that
Euphoria,
you
this
that you're
very
talking
different
about.
scene. Um, I just think it's funny too because the girl who played Riley is in Euphoria too. So I was like, oh. And when they went to they did their photo booth, a kind of cute little, oh, we're getting a little closer, right? I'd seen like Riley, shared feelings. The feelings went
Mhm.
both ways. Um, I was like, how the hell is that film working 20 years later? Have you
And
ever
it barely does. And
I thought it was still developing or something. I don't know. Maybe they'll show the picture more developed later on.
yeah, because well, no, I think because that's why they were like, well, you can have this one because there was only one good one that kind of you
Oh,
could kind
okay.
of see what was going on.
Have you
So
I've used expired film in a Polaroid camera, so a little bit different. It is terrifying because I don't know if it was like what was happening, but like you would see like faces next to you that weren't there and stuff like that. And I don't know if my camera was also malfunctioning, but the film was
smiledog.jpg. Jeez,
exactly scary,
what
scary,
the
scary.
heck? Okay.
Yeah, so that's I don't know. I thought it was I was like, dang, it's amazing. Anything works in there, any of the lights, anything. And then they go to the arcade, which again, I can't help but think of Euphoria. Again, the lighting was very season one
The
of
purple,
Euphoria.
all
Very
that
purple.
purple.
Yeah. So um and they go and they play Mortal Kombat. Did you play Mortal Kombat growing up?
I did. I did.
Mortal Kombat 2.
I hate it because I suck at it.
It's hard.
Reginald hates it and loves it. Apparently, I'm sure. But
I know, I
like,
was thinking of that.
yeah.
But
But
how do you do it? Smash the buttons. And I was like, that right there is exactly how I played Mortal Kombat. I didn't know the combos. It was just like, try
it
your
sums
best.
it sums it up.
They pan, they show the infected. I thought this was interesting. Sorry to like hop back over here,
Hmm.
but he's plugged in to the hive mind or whatever the hell.
I didn't even think about that.
He
God
was
dang it.
plugged in, and
Yeah.
my brain was like, oh, is this like how I don't know. Like I've had my first encounter. I started playing the game to gather screenshots, so I'm not caught up past the show yet. I don't want to spoil it for myself because I do like going into the show with a different perspective than someone who's played the game versus Naiwal who has played the game. Um, but I have had my first run in with a bloater, and they were in like a closet in a gym in Bill's town's, school.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, is that how they become to that point? Are they trapped in an area that's dark, whatever, long enough where they can grow into that? Um, and I was like, is that what that he just seems like he was I can't think of the step between a runner and a clicker. I know there is like some kind of step. It was on one of those posters at one point, but
Yeah.
he was plugged in. He was getting something from the wall. I thought that was interesting. So they show him, and then the camera work gets shaky the rest of the episode. I don't know if you noticed that, but it was
I
very
don't think I did.
it was like kind of smooth, and then when they get to the arcade it gets a little shakier, and that's in the arcade is when they kind of came around the corner and they zoomed all the way to where he was. Um and that's when it got a little stressful. Um and then they go to the unbranded taco shack like thing.
Taco Waco.
Yeah, is that a
Something
real?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they get the no pun intended volume 2 of the pun book that Ellie likes, and we find the pipe bombs. Dang.
Yes, this isn't where Riley's been
Throwback.
hiding out. No, no, no. This is where
She's
she's
been
been
making
stationed.
bombs?
Yeah. Pipe bombs.
Ooh.
Fireflies. And she's like, "Oh, so you can kill a bunch of innocent people." No, it's not like that. Which, I mean, shoot, if you attack a Fedra place, well, you got to think about it. Ellie could very well just be in one of those places for
Right.
whatever training, for whatever, and not have done anything wrong. You know, it's like, it is one of those things because it's like, I get it. You're trying to send a message to Fedra, but you are hurting people who are just born into Fedra.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, dang, man.
And this is also about, I believe, about the time where they have their like fight and they go their separate ways, and then Ellie hears the screaming, the weird Halloween toy screaming, and runs back.
Epic prank.
Oh my god. You know, that toy felt a little too modern for O3. I'm gonna throw it out there for continuity for the showrunners. You know what might have been a little bit better? One of those ghosts that's like, ooh, you know, those little 90s ghosts. That's what we would have had.
I was like, I don't know. I stayed away from scary places whenever I was a kid, so I can't remember
valid.
2003. Yeah.
O3. Yeah. So that she hears it, they run down. Oh, they're so loud this whole episode. So loud. And it made me think of the game. Every time you drag a dumpster or move a metal thing, you're being
Something.
so loud in that game.
But listen, the hive doesn't have ears. Mycelium doesn't have ears.
Right.
So.
But that, not quite a clicker, definitely had some ears, you know?
He has something.
He had something. They plug in. It's playing I Got You, Babe. That's the title of the song. Very cute. They're dancing on glass. I was waiting for that glass to break. But
I'm pretty sure the mask dancing scene was straight out of the game.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I think so too.
I've never played the DLC. I will say that. I have not played the DLC.
From what I watched, that was in the game. They get down, they kiss, and she says, I'm not gonna go to Atlanta, QZ. And then
we'll figure out something else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when our mushroom friend rolls up on him, and
our solo dolo almost team wiped them. Almost. If one of them didn't have the stinking infected proof buff, the immunity buff.
Yeah, and dang, that thing. I mean, I think this is similar to the game. You don't really see him bite either of them. Yeah. That was interesting.
Especially Ellie. Especially
that was
Ellie.
On the arm. Whew.
You know, I think about that because one, okay, I get it. Panic set in. Definitely was not aiming correctly. Two,
playing the game.
Yeah, it's like, and aiming all over the place. I didn't expect them to do that right. Boy, I'm telling you, when Ellie was stabbing old boy in the kidneys instead of going for the head that entire time, I was like,
I know.
What
are they teaching you in Fedra school?
Panic, which ultimately I'll say is probably just panic. Once again, I'll chop it up to panic. I don't expect everyone to make a smart decision then. But I would now here's where I say having a lot of, or even just two more, kind of start swarming them.
Would have been interesting.
That would have been like, okay, the panic is real. I understand. Every bullet counts that's in that gun. And then every move that you make is really important.
Right.
And I think that's why it was so intense with the at least with the DLC, because it's like, dang, you are kids and you are not going to be as prepared as someone like Joel.
Right. Also, I know we can't change the outcome of it. Like, I understand the character development, but from a perspective of like watching it, when they're waiting for the infected to roll up on them and she says, get ready to run, just run. Why are you waiting for it? You know, like, that's more of a beef with like the blocking of the scene for me, like the action, like the mapping of the action, if you're not familiar with that term. But I
would have dead by daylight that zombie. Yeah, so in Dead by Daylight, you have the killer, someone playing as the killer, and you do what we call looping. And you have that middle island for the checkout counter. I would have looped them over and over again. You're going to hop over the table? Go ahead. I'm going to be on the other side by the time you get on this side.
Exactly. It's like my cat when I'm trying to pick her up. She does that to me.
You get looped. You get
Right.
looped by your cat. Congratulations. You are a Dead by Daylight killer.
Yeah, like I mean, you're absolutely right. They could have easily done that and then knocked over some crap and outrun it. But again, it wasn't going to happen because it wasn't written. But again, it's more of a blocking
like
thing.
as listen, this isn't going against the show people at all. This is just me being, silly and goofy and thinking. So, thank you.
Oh,
Continue.
I mean, I'm going against the show. How dare the show? No, but like I don't know. Yeah. And also another little moment of Riley acting like she's badass and she ain't,
Boy, she got knocked out and like she convulsed too. Well, did you see that convulse? What was that?
Was that after being bit? Like, was that part of the bite scenario?
I don't know.
I mean, we got no,
because her hand wasn't even in frame whenever it happened.
That's true. I mean, and then the reaction to seeing the bites and Ellie trying to
Ellie's
wipe it
reaction
off.
was good.
Oh, so good. And that's how it goes exactly in the DLC. The smashing stuff, all those dialogues, same as the DLC. Her trying to wipe it off. I feel like there's been a few moments in my life where something happens that you can't undo, and your brain is like that same kind of energy of like trying to wipe off a permanent thing.
Disassociate.
Yeah, so I really great acting on the part of Bella Ramsey. So, and then we jump back to Joel, and she sews him up and digs through the house for that, and that's our episode. I don't know if I just took less notes or it felt a little bit shorter.
I mean, it sums it up. I think the only thing I would add on to it is that nice little talk that Riley and Ellie had at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I know we could, just pull this trigger and it would be the easy way out, or, let's just, we'll go together,
Right.
kind of thing, which I think that's very impactful because
we wouldn't know she was immune.
Ellie won. Did Ellie put Riley down? She had to have, right?
Yeah.
To be holding hands locked in with her. And I mean, we seen what happened with Sam, like
that was quick. That was 12. Yeah, for his was, I mean, like she said at the end of the episode, it could be 2 days or 2 minutes, and they've touched on this a few times in the show. Like the timetable is like by about 2 days is when that, usually happens, right? Yeah. I'm sure there's outliers, but obviously, Riley went first and Ellie's never going to go. I mean, as I understand it, but yeah, she had to have taken her out.
And yeah, I did think it was very sweet with Ellie going back to Joel and holding onto his hand. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, he's like,
it was very cute.
I'm not going anywhere. You're not dying alone, buddy. Like,
right.
So yeah, I thought that was awesome. But yeah,
I mean, do you got some rating for this bad boy?
Well, I guess we got time to cap it off.
Oh yeah, let's cap it off.
Okay, so
writing my rating, so my mind's not changed by you.
Yeah. I think this episode did a lot of things really well. I think the relationship between Riley and Ellie was great.
Mm-hmm.
I think grasping just, childhood innocence a little bit was pretty good, especially for like being in the apocalypse.
That mall set.
Mall set.
Interrupt your review.
Yeah, the mall set was really, really well done.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with you. There was plenty of awesome work that was put into it, even just like little world building things, such as the comic book. A little bit of that comic book was shown, so actual comic book was made for the show, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just the attention to detail for it was great. I think in terms of pacing out between the Joel and the mall sequence, I think a little less small, like a little less just emptiness. I don't know what to say. There's just like spots where nothing was really happening,
right?
And it's
a little sparse, I guess. And
I think moments like that could have been where we could have built a little bit more with Joel and Ellie, and watch Ellie really showing we're seeing what is driving her not to want to lose Joel, because she's experienced this before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how she's keeping how she's avoiding that loss at the same time while
Right.
reflecting on it, kind of thing. I think overall my rating for this episode, I'll go 7
Okay.
out of 10. Yeah,
Okay.
because it was very nice. The relationship was super super cute and reminded me a lot of my like early childhood relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the episode overall. I mean, now that I'm like looking back over it, I really did like it as I watched it, but then where it ended, like as you said earlier in our discussion, I felt like we needed a little bit more of the Joel side of things, even if like they had cut it into the episode to break it up a little bit. Like nothing wrong with the actors. They both did a great job, but I just wanted more. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's more of like an editing like issue for me, but I really liked the world building of this episode. I liked the backstory that was provided. I mean, I would have preferred there to have been more infected because I lost that bet that we did last episode. Now I have to wear cosplay for the next one.
See, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, good episode. Again, every single episode of the series is kind of a cliffhanger. I don't know, my husband's like, oh no, the next episode. He's really worried. He's like, you're not gonna like this. And I was like, what happens with this other faction?
Hey, yeah, we get it. We get a nice little peek. Troy Baker's finally gonna be in the show.
Yeah. That was actually trending on Twitter today.
Troy Baker's gonna be in the show.
What a generic white dude name, by the way. Yeah, so I liked the episode. For me, the issues were not with the writing, but more with the blocking, the directing of the episode. I don't know who the director was this episode, sorry to you, but certain directional choices, and I know some of them were driven by cutscenes from the game. So I understand all that logically, but I'm gonna have to give it a 7.5. So a little bit more than what you did, but that's kind of where I landed.
All right. Well, I mean, shoot. I guess we're looking forward to this next episode. This
8.
Okay, so for our next episode, though, this is going to be a big one for the Capcast and for Nikki and I. I'm going to LA for an event, and me and Tunnel Snakes Fool will be meeting up to do this next episode in person. Yes. Yeah. So she will be in cosplay, and I will be reading the Fisto fanfic.
That's gonna be interesting.
This is going to be separate from the podcast. This will be
it'll be on
separate,
YouTube.
Yeah, but we will also still do the recap of that episode. So it'll be a little bit later than we're typically used to, but it will be a very special one. So we'd love to have you there.
Yeah. I'm excited. We're gonna have a good time, record some content.
Hey, if you want us, I mean, for that first little segment area, if y'all want us to answer some questions, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Instagram. We'll reach out. We'll ask, any questions that y'all have for us, and we will answer them in person together on episode 8 of the Capcast.
Holy crap. We're pumping these out. This is crazy.
We out there.
Also, just the one last request I got from you, other than obviously liking this on YouTube, wherever, can you please let us know other stuff you'd like us to cover? Last of Us is ending pretty soon. We mentioned that. We want to hear what you want us to cover next. So, did you like
Reginald's game spill? Did you like Tunnel Snake's news spill? Tell us.
Yeah.
We want to do what you like.
Right.
We are entertainers. And if people aren't entertained, we're not doing our job.
Exactly. And we like feedback. Normal.
That's it.
Yeah. I think
thank y'all. Yeah. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Capcast. Remember, I am Nywall.
And I'm Tunnel Snakes Fool.
And remember, don't feed the Yagwai.
That is all.
Yeah.